Welcome to The Freight Break with your host, Dan Lindsay, the podcast that cuts through the noise of the trucking industry. We're talking real conversations, real relationships, and real insight that keep the wheels turning.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of The Freight Break, the flagship podcast of the Broker Carrier Summit, the BCS Freight Network, and hopefully the most valuable and profitable podcast you will listen to this week in logistics. I am your host, Dan Lindsay. Got a great show for you today. I'm going to talk to my good friend, Steve Vest. Steve Vest is a Kansas City native and runs a freight brokerage, Nationwide Equipment Transport. And he's going to talk to us today about his freight journey, why he got into the industry, and what makes him so darn passionate about moving freight. So let's get into it. Before we do, let's kick it over to our sponsors at TIE Software.
Meet TIE Software's workflow automation, built to help LTL and FTL freight brokers boost productivity. Use custom prompts to automate repetitive tasks like status updates, carrier changes, and shipment alerts right in the platform. Manage operations with automated scheduling, carrier management, and real-time updates. Workflow automation removes bottlenecks, freeing you up to grow your business. Best of all, it's easy to set up and use. No coding or tech skills required. Choose your workflows and TIE does the rest. Book a demo today and see how TIE makes efficiency happen.
The Broker Carrier Summit is taking over Orlando, Florida, the 28th of October through 30th. Join the best in the biz for 3 days of networking, education, and real talk with the top minds in logistics. If you're serious about growing your business, this is the event for you. Lock in your spot now at brokercarriersummit.com or bcsfreightnetwork.com, where the future of freight takes shape.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this segment of Breaking It Down. Today, I have a good friend of mine. His name is Steve Vest. He is the owner of Nationwide Equipment out of Kansas City, Missouri. Steve and I first met in Kansas City at the Broker Carrier Summit last spring in 2024. And we're going to be talking about his journey in the freight world and what he does over at Nationwide. So, Steve, my friend, how have you been?
Hey, good, man. Nice to see you, Dan. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Likewise. I love the office there with the vaulted ceilings. I got your little man cave set up there pretty nicely.
Yeah, we had an office. I mean, been in business 20 years this year, and we had an office up until 2023, and we sent everybody home, started working from home remote, and this is my fourth bedroom upstairs in my attic, basically, as everybody online likes to talk about. But yeah, so we're kind of empty nesters now, so we kind of just travel a lot, remote work, and it's great. So.
Yeah, there's repurposing every room in your house for different things, right?
Exactly, 100%.
Very cool. So talk to us today about how you got into logistics and transportation and what your journey's been like. And also, what makes you passionate about this industry?
Well, I mean, obviously, I grew up in it. It's kind of in my blood. My parents were truck drivers when I was growing up. They had a trucking company, 13 trucks, and this is late 80s, early 90s. Brokers weren't really super prevalent then, so I spent many a day at a truck stop with quarters and calling on a payphone, trying to get loads, and driving around the country with my dad during the summer and everything. So that was how I kind of got into it. But then just during college, started working for an air freight company here in Kansas City, and got promoted and moved around with them a little bit. Worked for a small broker about 20 years ago, and then just moved back to Kansas City and started our own deal, my wife and I, and been doing it ever since. So, obviously it was great up until maybe like the last 5 years when COVID hit and the Great Resignation and then all the fraud that started happening and things like that. So, really passionate about helping get rid of that in the industry. So I talk a lot about that on all my social media platforms and stuff, but, also the Broker Carrier Summit, met you in Kansas City and then went to Indianapolis. And, it was a great way to kind of really meet people face to face and say, let's do some business together versus, just a phone call or not knowing who you're really dealing with. So, that's what I'm passionate about really right now, is just trying to get rid of the fraud and make freight great again, I guess you could say.
Making everything great again. I think that's the theme for the last probably 9 years, is trying to revive the greatness. So talk to us about Nationwide. What do you guys specialize in, and what exactly do you do?
Well, as a broker, obviously we're the middleman for freight, and we like to say we're the travel agent for, shippers and and carriers trying to match them up and find loads. We work spot market freight only pretty much. I mean, we do have some customers that have some regular lanes, but it's not like the volume of the big guys. So we're a smaller niche player. We specialize in equipment of all types. So heavy equipment, heavy machinery, high value equipment, items on wheels, things that you might buy at an auction, stuff like that. So that's what we do, and that's what we specialize in. But we bring the customer service and still that face-to-face conversation with our clients on a daily basis. So,
And you guys have been around since 2005. Talk to us about the last 20 years. Obviously, there's been some volatility.
a lot has changed. I mean, obviously, you've been around the game as well as a long time, I'm sure. But we started out with paper on a wall. For each load, we'd print out emails and faxes and carrier rate confirmations from Excel spreadsheets and things like that. And so it was very manual. And now today with the fraud and all the vetting that goes on, but also the TMSs, we built our own. And, it's just very automatic, a lot of things now. And so it's a lot easier. And it's just, it's changed a ton really over the last 20 years for sure. And so, like I said, the last 5 years have been super challenging for everybody. And we've been able to survive a couple of downturns, and there have been a lot of people that haven't. So blessed to fill, 20 years and still doing it. So.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was 2013, 2014. I was just getting into the brokerage side of things, and we were still sending faxes. We all had a centralized fax machine in the office, and it was a challenge to find a slot to go over there and start faxing over your BOLs to your carriers.
Carrier broker agreements, packets, bill of lading, reconfirmations. Yeah, it was. I don't know by then if we had transitioned to more of an online presence at that point, but the fax machine, I'm glad that's out of here.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that has been really fascinating to watch over the last 20 years is the advancement of technology. I know technology adoption in this industry, especially on the carrier side, is extremely slow. You mentioned you guys built out your own TMS. What was that process like for you? And what made you decide, I guess, let's go ahead and build our own versus let's using a product off the shelf?
Well, when we started building it, there weren't that many options, right? So we built our own rating software engine, did all of that ourselves. There really wasn't that off the shelf product yet. And that was 10, 15 years ago. So a lot of advancements even in the last 10 years in that. But, we built our own because we have specialty, rates, things that we've built in for our pricing model. Just now starting to connect with APIs to all the tracking and all the load boards and all the rating options that are out there. And, if you come to the Broker Carrier Summit, plug that for you. They're out there, they demo it. Wireby is something that was at your last Indianapolis event, and I demoed it and I talked to them and we got set up with that, and it's been great. That's the carriers before they even get to us on the phone calls. It's cut down on our phone calls tremendously. A lot of fraud out there, obviously, so that helps. But yeah, if you're not adopting some type of technology platform as either a carrier or a broker right now, you're definitely getting left behind. And the further you put your head in the sand and say, I'm not going to do it, I'm still going to be old school, then someone's going to come in because the younger generation is coming and they want that technology when they're doing their job,
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the things too. So I know I've talked to a lot of brokers who started their own operations in the last 5 years. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, has there always been this much fraud? And I think the answer is yes, but I don't know that it has been as out of control as it has been in the last 5 years. Is that a fair statement, or would you disagree with that?
Up until 5 years ago, when I first had the first kind of inkling that double brokering was coming at us, I had a truck that get in a crash, and they sent me a picture of the side of the truck laying over on its side, and the MC and DOT didn't match up. And I was like, man, that's weird. So I call that carrier, and they're like, yeah, that's our driver. I'm like, where? And it started connecting the dots, right? That's just 5 years ago. And I was like, okay, there's something going on here. And then some guy online reached out to me and said, hey, you're getting double brokered and you probably don't know it. And, he educated me on all that. And so we started the process of making sure that never happened again, because it's just a nightmare. But I would agree that it was going on for a long time. We all just kind of had our eye, whatever you call, with something over your face, and you're just like, whatever, it's fine. maybe it's happening, maybe it's not, but as long as the freight was getting picked up and delivered, it was no big deal. But that one time where your shipment gets in an accident or your load gets stolen or something like that, and I'm actually surprised that we're still having that stuff happening, because there's so many tools out there to make it easier for you that so many brokers still aren't doing it. And we haven't had any problems in the last 5 years because we identified it. We made sure we got our, ducks in a row, and we don't have that issue. So
Yeah. Well, and again, being around for 20 years, you've seen some things, you've seen a thing or two. Talk to us about, so the last couple of years, we've seen quite a few brokerages exit the marketplace. What does the marketplace look like now on the brokerage side? And do you think that you guys specifically and the market in general is well positioned for a rebound?
yeah, I mean, I think we're in a great position with our technology. So we've got a new rollout coming that's going to help those carriers actually adopt technology a little bit more. And we're going to help them do that. So we're doing that in our platform. Rolls out here in 30 days. We've been talking to carriers about it. They're super excited about it. So we're excited about that launch. But I think that we are in a good position as a company for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years because we're financially sound, right? We went to work from home a couple years ago because, we saw that the rent for a building was $5,000 a month for a small office that we had. And everybody wanted to work from home. And if you can do the job at home, why not? Right? Like, you're saving that overhead. And I think some of the bigger brokers, like you mentioned, that are maybe struggling right now with cash flow because they have these huge, big buildings to pay for, they should be looking at that as an option or an alternative, but they might be stuck in large contracts they can't get out of, that kind of thing. But the people that have exited the market and are still exiting the market here at a rapid pace, it's because they've been working off a cash flow that is a negative, but they were able to keep up with it. And now that it's slowed down, obviously their expenses are outweighing their revenue, and they're not growing because so many people don't want to switch right now from shipper perspective. It's really hard to get them to switch. Whereas before, 20 years ago, when I started, I could call 10 people and get 10 new shippers. I mean, it was
Right.
really that easy. Now you could call 100 and maybe get lucky and get one. It doesn't matter how good of a salesperson you are. They just will not switch unless there's a major problem or issue that they've had, or you provide something better than the next guy. But we all basically have the same technology, the same rates. And so, transparency and rate suppression is why a lot of brokers are hurting, is because they can't make those huge, what people call rips. I hate that word, but where they were making those huge margins, now they're not. And so that's hurting them a lot.
So do you think call that customer consolidation? One of the downstream effects of that would be actual consolidation in the broker marketplace? Because we're seeing that.
Yeah, we're seeing that the bigger guys are buying out the smaller guys. Even some of the smaller guys are, getting some of the play, and we're getting that too. So, going viral for me last year on TikTok was huge because I've had 10 agents come to want to work with me because their brokerages are struggling. I've actually just talked to 2 or 3 this week that their brokerages are struggling. They're not getting factored. They're having trouble paying their agents their money. And so they're coming to me like, hey, I want to come work for you because we know that you've done it the right way and have the cash flow and can withstand these storms. So yeah, I think that I'm actually looking at that as a player is like, hey, I'm looking to merge or partner with other brokerages or bring them underneath of our platform, have them work in our TMS and run their business that way because we have the cash flow, the history, the credit and all that. So we're seeing that and we're taking advantage of that as much as we possibly can. But there's going to be a lot of players that can't do that, and they just don't have the business sense or whatever to do that, so.
Yeah. Or the connection. One of the things that I'm really excited, probably most excited about when it comes to the BCS and what we're doing is the fact that every time we have an event and every time people come together at a BCS venue, we see the most random relationships being created that end up creating something fantastic. I was talking with a carrier. It was in Indy this past April. They said, hey, thank you for putting on the Broker Carrier Summit. Our company is based out of Texas. We came to the Fort Worth Summit. Our company was broke, but I met 4 brokers at the BCS in Fort Worth, and we're back in Indy because our company is not broke anymore. And they did it not through a load board, not through, just pounding the phones. They actually had lunch with them and were talking about their challenges as a company, and just opened up to the broker. So, hey, this is what we're dealing with. Our doors are probably going to close, but these are the lanes we need. And the broker happened to have the lanes that they needed, or relatively close to them, and they were able to put together a contract on the spot, and literally they saved their company. So that's one of the more fascinating pieces of what we're doing that I get really excited about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the brokers are also, seeing the market suppression with the rates and the transparency and all that. And so it's becoming a challenge because the technology is there for carriers now to work with shippers directly at scale. Even if it's just one truck or 10 trucks, shippers now can buy a TMS and manage that themselves, and they don't have to pay a broker. And so I think some of the bigger brokers you've seen go out of business are because they lost that one big account that went after their own TMS and did it that way and said, we don't need you anymore. And it was like they had all their eggs in one basket. So for us, we have hundreds of customers that ship with us every month. They might ship one shipment a month. They might ship up 20 or 30 or 40, but we have them spread out over a large customer base versus just having 5 or 10 accounts that are paying the bills. So if I'm a broker out there right now, I'm looking for diversity. I'm looking to expand my portfolio of customers. I'm doing the same thing if I'm a carrier. I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to try to work with multiple people, because what we saw after COVID, and you mentioned the last 5 years, is when this warehouse went out of business over here, that disrupted the whole supply chain, because now they were used to that backhaul from that carrier. So they were taking a rate that was lower than market because they knew they could get a backhaul and round trip was making money. Well, now you've lost that backhaul and now you're stuck. So I think that's what happened to a lot of people over the last 5 years is the market got all crazy, and now it's just starting to balance out a little bit, but I still think there's some major fragmentation still happening, and it's causing all sorts of issues. When I posted a load on a load board 3 years ago, even, it would get covered in 2 seconds. Now you really have to work hard. It's not post and pray anymore. It's
a grind.
Yeah.
It's an absolute grind. Well, I think so. One of the big news story from last week was Del Monte filing Chapter 11, and I know personally some brokers that's going to put into a very, very difficult spot, because they weren't their only customer, but they were a large part of their refrigerated, or of their business. So yeah, diversification among customers is key.
I did a story on that too, because Uber Freight, I can't remember how many millions of dollars it was that they owed, and maybe it won't hurt them at all, but even that could hurt someone that big. I mean, you're talking, I want to say it was like 20 or 30 million or something crazy, but I can't even imagine that kind of volume. So,
I mean,
but I'm excited for the future of the market, the industry. But like we talked about earlier, just people that are putting their head in the sand and not adopting some type of technology to vet their carriers, to network with other people in the companies and brokers and carriers and agents, and not coming to an event like BCS are going to suffer, because those relationships are going to carry you through these hard times. And luckily we have built our carrier base up to where now we don't have to, struggle to cover loads as much as we would if we're just posting and praying. So
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the shout out. Speaking of the BCS in Orlando, what are you most looking forward to this October?
But what I'm most excited about is it's in Orlando. It's in Florida. I'm from Kansas. It'll be October, so just be getting cold here. So I'm looking forward to some warm weather. But more than anything is just meeting some of the people I met at the other ones, building some more relationships, and also just demoing the new IT that's going to be there we're talking 4 months from now, 3 months. I mean, there's going to be other tech that comes out between now and then that's going to be crazy. And so I want to make it as big as possible, because like you mentioned earlier, I mean, you can close deals and save your company. So
yeah. Well, and one of the coolest things to watch is the number of people who are in the industry who you would never know who they are, because they're not, top of mind when it comes to national media interviews. They don't have a huge following. They don't put themselves out there on social media a lot, but they've built something over the course of 20, 30, 50 years, and the amount of knowledge and wisdom that they can share with the marketplace is absolutely tremendous, and irreplaceable. That's one of the most frustrating things I think for me personally with this influencer culture is you have a lot of younger people coming in, and I'm not going to knock younger people, but you have a lot of younger people coming in and gaining these huge followings, talking about what they know. Meanwhile, the guy that's driven a truck for 48 years is sitting over here in Dallas, who has forgotten more about trucking than these people would have yet to learn. So that's one of the things I love about the BCS, because you can really sit and listen to tried and true professionals who have operated for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, and share not only their journey, but as they share their journey in the industry, they're just dropping bombs on everybody. So it's really fun.
Yeah, when you're having lunch or you're having drinks, or even if you're in one of the breakouts listening to people, I mean, that definitely the knowledge at the event is probably even more important to some people than the connection sometimes, because there was a lot of stuff shared that even someone that's been doing it for 20 years, I was able to learn something. Like, you're going to go there, you're going to learn something, you're going to meet someone. I met a couple of lawyers that I'm networking with now to help out with that. I met some insurance folks that helped me get some stuff lined out. I've met some other people. I met a guy that does like guided solutions, like growth mentoring, that kind of stuff. So like just stuff you wouldn't expect, but meeting those people help my company now go to the next level over the next 5 years. So
excellent. Well, I'm very excited to talk to you again, Steve. It's been too long since Indy. We should get together again soon before Orlando. So
I'll do. I appreciate having me on again, and take care.
all right. Thank you very much again for joining us, everyone. It's always fascinating and fantastic to talk with people who are passionate about the work that they do. I appreciate Steve, and not only him as a friend and as a colleague, but also as a member of the BCS community. Speaking of the BCS, we still have time to sign up for Orlando, our next event in October. Early bird pricing still is in effect. So if you want to save a few dollars and join everybody who you are going to see on this podcast in Orlando, make sure to go and sign up today. Take care, everyone.